Welcome to the Goliath Sourcing Academy podcast, where we talk all things property deal sourcing, packaging, business systems, and outsourcing. Whether you're sourcing for yourself, packaging deals for others, or a bit of both, then you're listening to the right podcast. Get more strategies, tactics, and tips for sourcing killer property deals over at GoliathSourcingAcademy.com. Now, here are your hosts, Mark Dunsmore and Brad Lazarus.
Hello and welcome to the Goliath Sourcing Academy podcast. This is session 44. My name is Brad Lazarus. I'm here with Mark Dunsmore. How are you, Mark?
I'm very good, thank you, Brad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right since the last time I saw you, which is about 9 minutes ago. Because
It
we
was-
are actually, we don't like to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. We're actually recording two podcasts today. So
We are, although I took my jumper off and now I'm freezing.
yeah, we had the whole conversation about should we pretend, and I said, well, I'll change, but I only have grey t-shirts, so that wasn't going to work.
Brad has actually gone and changed into the same
I've actually
outfit.
just got a fresh t-shirt on, and that's it. Mark took his shirt off, so he's wearing the black t-shirt he was wearing on underneath his shirt before anyway. So there we go. So we've got nothing really that much has happened between the last episode 43, and this session 44.
No.
So
COVID's gone.
Yeah, so that's good. Although I did hear that the reason that they did you hear that about it was basically an Excel error as to why the increase in recorded cases from last week to this week. Isn't that totally bizarre and worrying at the same time?
We all know how easy it is to get a formula wrong in
I was going to
Excel.
say, but it's not government agents. It's not government agencies that get Excel spreadsheets wrong. It's people like us and everyone listening here that don't get spreadsheets right. So
It's that one that they've outsourced to overseas that didn't quite get the
they got the
quite
data
understand
entry,
the
but they got the
data.
data entry person on Upwork.
Yeah.
You're like, damn. Never mind. So there we go. So listen, what have we got on the show today? This is actually another question from Member Question Time, actually, which is our monthly member question time, which is you get as part of the Insider Circle membership. It's what's the best strategy for deals at the moment if I'm still working full time? Which you know, a lot of people, again, a question which is being asked in member question time. We're giving detailed answers to that. We'll tell you a little bit more about member question time and Insider Circle in a moment, but also this is coming up in a lot of places, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we covered it in last week's session 43, and it is all about ensuring that we are in a good position for the current market. There's a lot of negativity around, is it the right time to do this, the right time to do that, blah, blah, blah. And actually, the reality is that it's always a good time. You just need to have the confidence in what you're doing in order to be able to do that. So ultimately, we're going to be covering that today. We know, again, another members question time question, but we do know it's being asked out there in the wider property world as well. So hopefully you're going to find this one useful.
Good, excellent. And the Sourcing with Mark topic today is analysis paralysis. Stop overthinking it and just do it. So this is about people really putting hurdles and obstacles in front of them, overthinking things, creating issues and problems, and then struggling to move forward, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Worrying about things you don't need to worry about, and almost using it as a bit of an excuse to not move forward. And actually what we also cover is sometimes people become a little bit obsessed with training and courses and education because they think it's going to be the shortcut, the hack, the easy way to do certain things. And sometimes the easiest way is to just get out there and do it. And that's what we're covering in today's Sourcing with Mark.
I always go by the 95% of the things that we worry about never actually happen.
Which is absolutely true in property.
Which is totally true. Yeah, absolutely. So good stuff. Okay. Well, look, I mentioned before about member question time, and our question today came from a Insider Circle member and member question time. So if you're interested in joining, learning more about the stuff that we talk about, progressing your journey, property journey faster, learning more about the stuff that we talk about on the podcast, getting lots of great training, being part of a supportive community, which includes private Facebook group, member question time. What else have we got on the Insider Circle?
Oh, what else have we got? Ooh, training. We've got lots of training, mini trainings, courses. We cover pretty much most of the property investment strategies in the residential section. So, and what we tend to do is we have a complementary basis of the training as well as the support, because ultimately what we do know is that it's because of the very nature of what we've just discussed. The fact is that there are many unknowns out there, and just having the support network along with the training all together to cover you in terms of the unknowns and be able to answer the questions when they come up, not if they come up, when they come up, is the most important part of the support, which is exactly how we've set up the Insider Circle.
And it's difficult to get out and meet people at the moment. Property networking groups, essentially aren't happening at this particular point in time. People are kind of feeling, not lonely as such, but it's lonelier than it was, and that looks set to kind of be the case for the next few months. So to be part of that supportive community, meet up once a month, really get focused with what you're doing and getting your questions answered, and sharing information on the private Facebook group is all part of what the Insider Circle is about. So if you want to know more about that, go to goliathsourcingacademy.com/insiders circle, insider with an S, insiders circle. So on that note, let's get on with the show.
Now it's time for the Goliath Facebook group Q&A session. Got any burning property sourcing related questions? Tap into the minds of hundreds of property pros just like you inside our free Facebook group. Head over to www.goliathfbgroup.com.
Right, so the question again this week is what's the best strategy for deals at the moment? And it is very much based around what I wanted to do is refer back to last week's session 43, where we talked about certain situations to find deals in, the chain breaks, the motivated landlords. But what we didn't really cover, which is what I wanted to sort of cover today with this question coming off the back of the members' question time, is strategy in terms of those deal situations. And the beauty of property investing is the best way to look at it is that we solve property problems for property owners. Now, the property problems change depending on the time of year, right down to the economic situation. It might even just be simply down to certain rules and regulations that kick in. As property problem solvers, that is what we ultimately strive to do. Now, that whether we solve property problems by ourselves, by taking those properties on as investors, or if we take them on as deal packages, for example, on behalf to sell then onto other investors to resolve the property problem that property owner is having, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. The fact is we need to look at it as though we are solving the property problem. So in the current economic climate, of course, we know that yes, the market is buoyant, but there are still lots and lots of property problems that are out there happening. And the beauty of property investing is the fact that the solutions that we have will solve those problems. So if you imagine, for example, that rent to rent, there is a situation whereby the property owner is struggling to get their tenants out, evictions, etc., etc. Well, the beauty now is that with a rent to rent scenario, you can actually take that property on behalf of that landlord. You can negotiate specific terms to protect yourself, which I'll come on to in a second, around not making sure that that tenant, you're going to be able to try and get them out, or at very least manage them better. And then, of course, you can then move forwards with taking that rent to rent property on. Same principle with lease options. You also might have someone with a property problem whereby they have been laid off from work, they can't afford to pay their mortgage, and they're potentially facing repossession, but the property has serious problems. You can then go and resolve that with, for example, an exchange with delayed completion to get the works done. You might just simply buy it at a reduced price because it needs quite substantial work done if there's subsidence, whatever it might be. The fact is, that we need to find those problems like we covered in session 43. We need to cover those problems by finding the right solution, and the right solution is the strategy that you are focused on. So in terms of the answer to the question, what is the right strategy? Well, actually, the fact is that your strategy is right no matter what. You just need to identify what the problem is just now that you can solve with your property strategy. Now, what is very important, however, like I just mentioned before, to remember currently is that there are certain risks involved with certain deal types that you take on. So the one that I referenced just then with regards to the taking on a property from a landlord, motivated landlord on a rent-to-rent basis with existing tenants in arrears, you really do want to know what you need to know what you're doing there in terms of managing that tenancy or getting that tenant out. Evictions can become very costly, which you would be taking on behalf of the landlord. You also may find that the tenants just don't pay you rent. So you need to be able to mitigate the risk associated with that in order to be able to take those deals through confidently, which is exactly the sort of situation that we are able to help with as far as the Insider Circle is concerned, with the support around specific situations. And the same applies for other problems with other strategies. The secret to having the right strategy is you need to understand the strategy that you have chosen. You need to apply that to the problems that people are experiencing now, and you'll be able to make most, if not all, strategies work in the current climate, in the future climate, and in future climates after that.
Very good. Thank you.
You are welcome, Brad.
Yeah, no, thank you. So there's a great place that you can go actually to get involved in conversations like this, and that is the Glass Sourcing Academy Facebook group. So go and check that out. It's totally free. There's over 7,500 plus members in there, all having great conversations around all topics that we're talking about on the podcast. So if you go to just search for Goliath Sourcing Academy in Facebook, or you can go to goliathfbgroup.com for that. Right, next up, Sourcing with Mark.
Sourcing with Mark, innovative and advanced strategies for doing better property deals.
So are you one of those people who always finds a reason not to do something? Now, it might be something to concern you, an outcome that if you were to do something, this might happen, this could happen, this is potentially going to happen. And what ends up doing is you overanalyze the situation and you just simply don't do it. Now, this is something that I encounter both from an Insider Circle student point of view, also from my children. And it's always a case of, oh, but what if this happens? What if that happens? What ifs, buts, maybes? And the reality is that actually, sometimes if you worried about all the what ifs, buts and maybes, the 101 potential outcomes of any given situation, then the reality is that you would never end up getting out of bed. And even then, you might not stay in bed, then you just overwhelm yourself and you just simply achieve nothing, and you become anxious, you become nervous, and then potentially you start looking for something else to do because it's just completely beyond your potential ability to be able to move forwards with whatever it is you're looking to do. Now, property investing is actually possibly one of the worst things when it comes to analysis paralysis, because there are so many variables when it comes to properties, whether it's dealing direct to vendor, all the different outcomes with them, if it's dealing with agents, all the different agents, different types of agents, the different members of staff and agents that you're going to deal with, the different processes that agents follow. You've also got properties. So of course, all your various different property types, property problems, all the different things that you can do with property. Then you've got your strategies. I could go on and on, but I think you get the picture with regards to the fact that there are so many different things to think about, which means there are so many different potential outcomes that might happen, and it's quite easy to become overwhelmed and put off. And of course, what happens when you get put off, you just simply don't take the action that you need to take. Now, what I can assure you, however, is that most of the what ifs questions that come from our Insider Circle members, for example, are highly unlikely situations to arise anyway. So the fact of the matter is, they're starting to worry about something that is highly unlikely to happen, but what they're doing is they're trying to find something to effectively put them off from doing something. So quite often what happens when we're finding excuses, the reason we're finding excuses is to find a reason not to take the necessary action that we know we need to take. We're effectively pushing ourselves outside of that comfort zone, and we're worried about what might happen should that situation go wrong. And my point to you and to my students and to my kids is, what is the worst that can happen? The Dr. Pepper old what's the worst that could happen catchphrase. And the reality is, you know, if you mess up with an agent, what they're going to do, they might laugh at you, but that makes them the unprofessional ones. You might go into a direct to vendor conversation. They may ask you a couple of questions that you don't know about, and you're embarrassed by the fact that you don't know about it. But guess what? You can leave that vendor appointment, make your apologies for not knowing the answer to that particular question, and you can go back to them with the answer to their question once you've researched that thoroughly and got an accurate answer for them. The fact is that the worst that can happen is not usually very bad at all. Now, of course, you might be one of the people that actually are looking for the get-rich-quick scheme. You might be looking for the easy answer. You might be constantly investing in training products and education and books and audibles, all of these things, because you're looking for the easy way to get results. You're looking for the fast way to get results. And unfortunately, for those of you that are listening that are in that boat, in that category, there is no one-size-fits-all training course out there. There is nothing out there that is going to give you all the answers to all the questions, because the fact of the matter is, it is physically impossible for us training providers to be able to predict every single eventuality that could come from every single negotiation, every single offer, every single refurb quote, every single property that you look at. It just is impossible for us to do so. It's exactly why we set the Insider Circle up the way that we did, because ultimately what you want is you want access to the training in order to give you that solid foundation of knowledge so that you can go into each negotiation, each viewing, armed with the basic knowledge of what you need to know in order to get by, be able to make those offers, be able to not make mistakes. But you also then want to have the support element, so the ability to ask the questions as and when they come up from the expert. So the experts can give you the answers based on their experiences. Then you can go back to your property owner, your agent, your tenant, whoever it might be, give them a solid, well-researched answer back, and you will feel so much more confident about it. And of course, the more answers that you go back and give, the more knowledge that you gain, the more experience that you build, and of course, the more confidence you are going to have when it comes to dealing with the situation, should it ever arise again. So what I really want you to take from this is the importance of focusing on one strategy in one area. The reason why that is important for the analysis paralysis and not taking action is because if you focus on one thing, what that means is it's going to allow you to focus your attention on that one thing. So that means that you're going to be very focused on understanding a strategy so that you can explain that to a vendor who knows nothing about it. You're also going to know how to do the numbers, what good looks like in your area, knowing what your area is like. That will bring you confidence to be able to go out and start taking viewings, go start doing direct to vendor meetings, and of course being able to communicate with all the various different services within your strategy with confidence. They're going to have confidence then in you, and you're going to be amazed at what those opportunities bring up. But the fact of the matter is that no matter how much analysis, no matter how much study, no matter how much training you do, nothing will replace the value that actually going out there and doing it will give you when it comes to moving forwards on your property journey. So yes, Make sure that you educate yourself on the basics of your strategy, on the basics of your area. Understand how your strategy fits your area, the different parts of your area where that strategy works. Absolutely make sure that you know those, so that when you go in to have conversations about the basics, you are very well grounded in that respect. But do not worry at all about the detail, because the detail will come with experience, it will come with doing, it will come with further training. But don't let that stop you going out there and taking action, because trust me, you will learn more from your mistakes than you will from the training that you get moving forwards on your property journeys. It's the mistakes that you remember, you research, you get to understand exactly what that solution is. You can then move forward into every negotiation armed with more weaponry, so that you're ready for whatever outcome that property visit provides.
Great, thank you, Mark. So now in this session, I've got a question. In this session,
Don't you always?
in this session, you talk about getting a strong foundation of knowledge rather than obsessing with being an expert right away, which is kind of the issue, the crux of the issue here, isn't it? But what would you say is foundational knowledge? Where do we stop? Where does the foundational knowledge, where's the level that we need to get to know that we've got foundational knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good shout. I like it. I like it.
Thanks. I came up with that question myself.
Yes, I know you did. Yeah. I think what's really important here is that knowledge gives you confidence. So what happens is a lack of knowledge gives you a lack of confidence. So what people do is they obsess about every eventuality, so that they become over prepared for a situation that might never come. Now, the issue with that, of course, is that if you imagine going into every conversation that you have with friends, family, work colleagues, whoever it might be, but just before you go into every conversation, you start thinking about every potential outcome of that conversation might be. So what if they are in a good mood, a bad mood? What if they say this? What if they ask me about that? What if they ask me about this? What if they ask me about that? It becomes quite overwhelming. You get quite anxious. I mean, you would never do that ultimately with conversations that you have with people like that. And that's what I'm kind of want to get across with regards to your foundational knowledge, is actually you need to go in, you can't just walk into a direct vendor visit with a particular solution to a problem if you don't understand the problem it is that you're solving, or the solution that it is that you are offering. What you need to consider, what I consider foundational knowledge, really is specifically around your local area, because your local area, by having the local area knowledge around, even just things like where the schools are, and these are all things that you can do just simply with a drive-by. So knowing the local schools, transport links, knowing the property types, knowing the market movements, what's selling, what's not, property types, what's been going on. You can get all of this information quite quickly using resources like streetcheck.co.uk or other online facilities to do that. Or even better, just by simply knowing the area that you live in, of course, or the areas that you drive around in. But so area knowledge is obviously very important, quite an easy thing to do. Where people get stuck is the objections they might face with a property owner. So what you need to ensure, the foundational knowledge that you have, is the basic understanding of your investment strategy, because you need to be able to explain the solution that you're going to be offering in layman's terms to a person that doesn't understand. So by understanding the strategy, you can certainly be able to do that. And also understanding the problems that the property owner is experiencing, because ultimately, if you understand the problem, you're going to be able to pitch the solution to them in a way that they understand. And then any questions that they may come up with afterwards, you'll be able to experience those and just say, actually, at the moment, I'm not able to answer that question. What I will do is go back and consult with a colleague who will be able to give me a bit more technical information. And then you're going to be able to come back. This is why we've set up the Insider Circle the way that we've set it up. You can come back and drop a question into the private members Facebook group. We answer that question on that day. You go back to the property owner, you answer it confidently, and everything feels so much stronger. And more importantly, you've just gained more experience by being out there doing it and being asked the question than by worrying about the 4 other questions that they might have asked that they don't ask, and you still get flummoxed with the one that they do ask. So, really important to understand your knowledge, basic knowledge of this strategy, knowing your area and how they fit together, knowing the property owner's problems, and then just get out there and do it. What is the worst, like I said in the session, what is the worst that can happen?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting as well is if you listen to the last 3 case studies that we've done, all of those individuals have progressed at a rate that they've progressed, which is relatively fast, because they understand that this is the foundational knowledge that I need. I'll come up against, I'm thinking specifically actually Nikki Hodgkins, which I think was session 40. She understood the foundational knowledge that she needed. When she came up with an objection or a question that she couldn't overcome or answer from a landlord, she excused herself. She didn't feel the necessity to, BS an answer in some way, or she just said, look, I'll come back to you on that. And then she went away and she found the answer and she came back, and then she secured, off the back of that, she secured the deal. So if you want to kind of hear a real life stories around what foundational knowledge is and how to stop overthinking things and just go and have a listen to Nikki's podcast, which is session 40. I think we've got Kane was session 41. Is that right?
42 was he?
42.
No, yeah, 42 I think.
42.
No, Slavomir was 42. It's hard to get. It's hard to keep track.
It is hard to keep track, but they're all great examples of people that have got foundational knowledge and then just gone and done it, and then making great progress. Because I think when you go out there and you experience the knowledge that you've learned, if you like, you internalize it. And then that becomes of huge value to you moving forward. So
100%. And every vendor viewing, every agent viewing, every direct to vendor phone call, everyone makes the next one easier. So, if you're not going out and doing it, but you're obsessed with, every time a Facebook ad comes up of a new training course or a new strategy and you're obsessing with the education, don't.
There's no secrets out there. The secret is go and implement, learn the minimum amount and go and implement. And that's the secret.
Absolutely.
So look, if you know anybody that has interest in any of the stuff that we talked about today, interested in property, wanting to get started, deal sourcing, packaging, maybe some rent to rent, anything that we talk about on these podcasts, please do share this podcast with them or any others that you've listened to that you think they might be interested in. Share it on your timelines. That would be great for us as well. It gets the message out there. So a lot of valuable content that we put out there, which I think will help a lot of people. And if you really are enjoying this, please feel free to give it a review. You can either review it on the iTunes platform. I think we have 88 5-star reviews and 1 3-star. So what is that 3-star and no? Really nothing.
I don't know.
Right?
I'll change it.
I'll get my mum to change it. But yeah, so that's a great place to leave a review. Also, if you if you favorite the Facebook platform, then feel free to leave a review on our Goliath Sourcing Academy page. You can find that by searching for Goliath Sourcing Academy in Facebook, or go to reviewgoliath.com and you can go straight to the review section there. We'd really appreciate it if you leave a review for us on that. So,
and if there's anything that people want us to cover in terms of the Facebook Q&A, or if there's any sourcing with Mark topics, or even an in the lab with Brad, just let us know. Get in touch, join the Facebook group, get in touch with us and let us know, because we'll be more than happy to, we really want to ensure that the podcast, especially at the moment with the market moving so quickly and changing all the time. We want to make sure that you feel more confident being in the property sector, doing whatever you're doing, whatever strategy it is. So if there's questions that you want answering, if the topics you want covering, effectively it's a 10-minute training session for you on all the things that we know are useful. So if you want to do that, drop us a message in the Facebook group and we will be certain to add that onto our list.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode. Yeah, nothing else for me to say, so I'll leave Mark with the last word.
So thank you, Brad. Thank you, everyone, as always, for listening, watching, even reading with our show notes. So if you, like I say, if there's anything you want us to cover, do drop us a line. Otherwise, remember, it's all about action, action, action. Also the support, making sure that you've got the right people around you in the support, because it's the support that will help you through the individual situations, not the training. So apart from that, thanks everybody as always. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next session. In the meantime, happy sourcing. Bye-bye.